What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today we're talking about one of my very favorite subjects, editing. I love editing. I think editing can make your video footage go from good to great, and it's become one of the things that I really enjoy doing. Now, editing can also become the bottleneck of your operation. So if you never learn to edit efficiently, proficiently, learn some of these things that will help speed your editing up. It slows everything down. Let's get it today. Let's talk about process. Let's talk about workflow. Let's talk about tips and tricks that I think can change the game for you. I think I need another microphone so I can move around without having to be so close to it. What do you think? If I were to drop something up here, some kind of new microphone, what would you get if I wanted just the absolute crispiest audio? Anyway, let's get into the computer and let's get it, dude. All right, so for today's example, I got it right here. Every project starts with organizing your files. If your files aren't organized, they're going to take you more time to find them, and everything that takes you more time, a second here, a second there, will slow you down. So I typically organize by camera, and I would create additional folders for things like music, overlays, stuff like that. But for today's project, we have two cameras, A7 IV and A7S III. And now that we're organized, we're going to hop into Davinci Resolve and get a project going. I'm going to take you right from the top here. First thing we're going to do is create a project. I always put the date in front of the project, create. Drag my footage in right here, but first, before I drag it in, I'm going to create bins, and these bins are going to help me find my stuff. So I organize my bins by camera, and we're going to drag in some clips. Don't change. I don't change the project frame rate because I'm going to change it later. And then one key part here is, okay, once we have these clips in, now we're going to color them. So when they're on the timeline, everything looks so good and so crisp, and we can find it. And it makes everything easier later. Just trust me with some of this. I drag these into the A7 IV bin. I'm going to create a different color, something that contrasts what I used in my other one. So I have orange and green. It'll be real easy to find on the timeline. And now that I have all my clips in here, we're gonna go ahead and create the project right here under custom project settings. Now what I've done in the presets is created presets that I like to use, but I'm just gonna load in my presets. If you don't have presets, Davinci Resolve has some presets for you, but this is my preset. This is what I like to edit in. This is my preset for my preferred YouTube project settings. So now that we're in, we're gonna head on over to the edit tab and we're gonna start chopping this thing up. Okay, so before we start randomly chopping this thing up, I want you to know a couple things about just organizing your editing workflow. There's more than one way to do it, but this is the way I found to be the most productive. You want to create some type of framework that you'll work through, and it will just make everything flow faster as you get through it. If you don't take anything else out of this video, trust me on this, you want a process to how you edit. If you're randomly adding a clip, then adding sound, then adding color, that will just take way too much time. Ain't nobody got time for that. So have a process, a framework. This is my process and framework and what I found to be super productive for me. So the first thing I will edit is the story. What is the story of the thing I did? I will chop it up and edit it through and through. Occasionally I will add music to that story because sometimes you need the music, feel the flow of the story to set the vibe, if you will. So story is number one, sometimes with music. Number two is sound design. So after I've created the story, I'm then going to go back and add sound effects and add music and just make all the sound dope. I'm going to spend time analyzing the bottom of the timeline, which is sound. That means sound effects, music. How does my actual talking head stuff sound? Is there voiceover? Is it just talking head? I can't tell you how important sound is. As a beginner filmmaker and editor, I think almost everyone doesn't spend enough time on the bottom half of their timeline. Get your sound where you want it to be. There's only two things we have. We have audio and video. And audio comes first, remember that. Spend some time getting your sound the way you want it to sound. Adding things like wind, music, sound effects, whatever it is to help support and add some depth and some character to the story you're trying to tell. So we started with story, then we're at sound design, and then I'll go back and add transitions. Anything that makes it fancy, and this is like what I call the sprinkling the sauce part of the edit. You're just going back and making sure everything has nice touches, everything cuts well, everything is kind of seamless. And then after that, I'll go through and do color. So we've went story, sound design, transitions, color. And that's the framework I operate through. So the first thing we're going to do is hop in and edit the story. Let's roll. As we're in here in the story, I'm going to click on things. I'm going to set in and out points with I and O on where I want it to come in, where I want it to come out, and then I will drag that onto the timeline. I'm going to rinse, cycle, repeat that process until I have the story where I want it. Continually looking at this, setting in and out points, and just motoring my story along that way. Now, if I'm down here in the timeline and I've seen something that I want cut, or maybe I didn't get it the in and out points quite right, and you can drag the size of your video clips around here. I like dragging that first line of sound down so I can see where the sounds hit. But now we're on a clip and I set my in and out points, but maybe I don't want that whole clip here. So what I'm going to do, and the way I've got my keyboard set up, and you can customize any keyboard however you want it, and in Davinci Resolve you can do the same. You'll just hop up here and go to Davinci Resolve, keyboard customization. You can see how I've got my keys customized here. So the ones I use the most is Q, W, A, S, and Z. So Q is going to get me back to my last cut. I'll undo that with Command Z. W is going to get me forward to my next cut. So between Q and W, you can work through that timeline pretty quickly. And then if you want to create a cut, I'm going to use the S. I'm going to use S to split it. And then again, Q if I want to go back, or W if I want to go forward. And if I don't like something in there, I'm going to use ripple delete. So I can basically do everything with my mouse and those 4 keys really simply. Q, W, A, Z. And I got it all set up here on my left hand so I can use it simply and motor through it. And these things save me so much time. Between those 4 keys and setting my in and out points, that is like 90 to 95% of editing the story. There are a few other tips, tricks, and hacks and stuff like that. Is how you motor through and edit and really work through things. And if you don't want to delete something with Q, W, or S, say I split this by holding Option and coming up, so now I have 2 of these, and say I didn't want to delete that top one, I could lock it right here, and then as I go back, Q, Q, and then this stays right here where it was. Command Z to go back. But that gives you some really good tools and shortcuts. And these are things I wish I would have known when I started editing. I lost so much time moving around, clicking, cutting. The individual cut I have is the C button. Sometimes I will use cut and I'll go through and use that as well. But most of it is Q, W, A, and Z. And those things get me a really long way. So another thing to take quick note of is look at how nice this timeline looks with green and orange. I can see where everything is. It's in front of me. And that's why you color code your timeline. If you're not color coding it, you're going to lose some time somewhere. Trust me on that. But I would just motor my way through that story, and then I will go back and do the sound, do the transitions, and do the color. And each of those subcategories could use multiple videos. And that's why it's pretty common for bigger production teams to have an individual department for each of these things. Someone who edits, someone who produces, someone who directs. But in YouTube, we got to do all those things. We got to wear the hat. We got to crack the eggs, we got to mix them too, we got to be the chef, the sous chef, and all those things. And to me, that's part of the fun, is crafting that thing from start to finish on your own. And that just gives me like that really proud, satisfied feeling where I've worked something from start to finish. I've crafted it, I've brought it along, I did the sound, I did the color, I did the story, I edited it, I created the thumbnail, and then I published it. Yeah, that whole process is just really rewarding start to finish. So I hope you dug today. I hope it taught you a thing or two about editing. We can dig way down these rabbit holes. We can talk more about sound, we can talk more about color, we can talk more about advanced editing. But I just wanted to get this out there because these are things that would have saved me so much time had I known them when I had started editing in my beginner phases. I had to learn it the hard way through trial and error. You don't have to learn it the hard way. Take it from me and know that there's more than one way to cut a rug. There are multiple ways for you to get from A to B, but this is the system, the style that I found to be most productive and the framework that works for me. I would highly appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. Leave it a thumbs up and drop me ideas if you want to see future editing stuff. And drop me any questions you have in the comments about editing or editing stuff. We can make more of these videos. Side note, Davinci Resolve, apples to apples, I think it's better than Premiere. Cost aside, even though it costs less, I think just, I'm being honest with you. I think Davinci Resolve is a better editing platform. We could talk more about that too. Anyway, I'll catch you back here for the next one.